Welcome to the Big Venture Zone. This is week 3. David Cohen here with you. I'm going to be your host. And the show is geared to young entrepreneurs and founders, 20 to 35, to give them the strategies, the ideas, the confidence to move forward in their life and in their business. Also giving them ideas, tips, community, and the resources they need to succeed. And our guest is a wonderful, brave, brilliant woman, Virginia Rose. Virginia is a dynamic entrepreneur and international fashion photographer. She too is a podcast host and a women's empowerment leader. She's got a background spanning the arts, business, media, and consulting. And she's the founder of Choose Your Consulting, where she helps women build confidence, leadership skills, and purpose-driven businesses. Virginia is a domestic violence survivor and advocate, and she creates powerful empowerment events across the Midwest US and hosts the podcast La Dolce Vita with Virginia Rose. She's been featured on major media outlets, including CBS, ABC, Fox, WGN, and PBS. And she continues to inspire audiences worldwide through her speaking, creative work, and mentorship. And Virginia joins us from her home office in the Midwestern United States. And welcome, Virginia.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me. That was quite an intro, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really, we met. Can we share how we met? It's a bit of,
And
it's a bit funny. We both took in January the Tony Robbins Time to Rise Summit, which was originally a 3-day, 3 half-day event. And then they came back on the weekend after it finished and said, oh, we're going to have a bonus one. And truthfully, the bonus one was really good. And then we met there. You posted something kind of compelling about your journey. And I went, I've got to see if I can have Virginia as a guest. And here we are, less than a week and a half later. Here you are, a guest on the show. So welcome, welcome.
thank you. You're a fast mover. I love it. You contacted me. Say yes. What does Tony Robbins say? Say yes. And how
Yeah.
could I say no to you? You're
Oh,
so kind-hearted to me, and it's such a warm welcome when you invited me on the show. And I'm so happy to be here today. I hope this, my story, touches somebody's life, and if somebody that's listening, that just needs some support, or maybe they just realize that they're not alone in the fight.
yeah. And, I used to do a radio show about 12 years ago now. And it lasted for 7 seasons. And we always said, like, we kind of had a clue as to how many listeners we had. But we always said, my producer and I, if we change one life, we did our job today. So
That's
that
right.
that kind of will go for this. So welcome again. Here you are. You're a super high achiever, a truly kind woman with a big heart, a very beautiful woman inside and out. And in our discussions before today, our interview, we were talking about how you have a lot of love in your heart that you want to share with others, and that really, like, whoa, you're the real deal here. And yet your past was harsh, cruel, and in most cases can have devastating effects on one's mental health, self-esteem, self-worth, and even being able to trust again when it comes to future relationships. So what started to happen when the relationship you were in started to shift and you experienced your first act of domestic violence?
Well, actually, in order to get to the end, I have to start with the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I was born into a domestic violence situation with my father,
Oh,
who endured domestic violence as a child. And I don't know the whole history going back past my grandparents, but it's a cycle, right? And that's what has given me a huge portion in my heart when you talk about the love portion is to have a heart of forgiveness because like Tony says, you have to take responsibility for all of it for you. Not necessarily that I had a part in it, but you got to take responsibility for understanding the course of how everything took place and being able to be loving and forgiving. If it was done to them as a child, how would they not know not to grow up and do the same thing, right? And so I decided on my journey is to be a cycle breaker. But it took many years for me to get to where I'm at today because if all you've seen is domestic violence from your father, well, the probability of you getting into a relationship where it's chaotic, where there's a lot of drama, where you have to earn love or affection, you have to prove yourself, you give a lot of chances when there's any type of abuse because you think, well, this is normal, right? And it's not normal. And so for me, I think knowing now everything that I endured had a purpose. I think that's been very helpful to me because now every situation that comes to me that should destroy my day, I know exactly how to handle it. And I'm able to stay calm while coaching others, while helping others, why volunteering. 10 years ago, my nervous system could have never handled that.
Were there warning signs with your partner that started to show up, and you're kind of thinking, "Ooh, this isn't good."
Absolutely. Actually, I was 14 years old
Oh
when
my
I
God.
first started dating. I was in high school. I had just moved to live with my mother, and I was figure skating at the time, and I met him at a Super Bowl party. I had known his friends and his brother, and I would say it was just a couple of weeks in before the first time he ever struck me. We were at a drive-through for a restaurant, and they had given my order wrong. When we go back through the drive-through, they messed up my order, and he backhanded me. And that was the first time that I was like, not again. But I didn't know how to get away. And of course, he said he was sorry and he would never do it again. But I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the tools. And that's what I want to provide for people. And that's why I host events because if see something, say something. I didn't have the protection that I needed. And he didn't. By the way, a lot of times abusers, and I just want to validate this for anybody that's listening,
Hmm.
abusive people don't normally look abusive. I just want to say that out loud. They don't, he was very charming, very attractive, very liked, uh, funny, handsome, a lot of good qualities. And so that's another reason why I didn't tell because it was a pattern that I had endured previously. And then also, I didn't think anyone would believe me. And he told me that no one would believe me, that he was a good guy.
Yeah, not so good. How did you handle
No.
that? And that first act of domestic violence, or in your relationship at least, getting food, takeout. Did you make it
Well,
okay? Did you think, oh, well, it was only one time, I'll give it another chance? Like, where were you at?
well, I of course cried and I told a few people that were close to me, but it just kept on happening on repeat. But you have to understand that it's like the story of the frog in the pot that gets boiled but doesn't know that it's being boiled.
Right.
And so they turn the dial up very gradually. It's a gradual process. And you can feel it like something's wrong, but if this is what you've endured as a child or this is what you've experienced previously, you just kind of adapt that this is how, this is how life is. And they keep turning the dial up, turning the dial up, turning the dial up. And by the time you really actually realize, like, hey, I'm in a very abusive, dangerous situation here, you have possibly have children with this person. They've isolated you. They've moved you away from friends and family. That's what happened to me. And to where you're just in it. And it's the daily will to survive. It's the daily this is how this is life. And it takes really, they say about 7 times. It was well over 7 times for me to finally say, this is it. I'm not gonna, I don't care what it cost me. I don't care if it cost me my life. I will not endure this for one more day. But it takes many, many times to leave as a survivor because the odds are against you. And that's why we need more awareness in this country. And we need more programs with no questions asked. If somebody, woman, man, or child comes forward and says, hey, this is happening to me, I'm scared, I'm afraid, immediate resources. And that's what I'm trying to fight for.
Yeah, and that's so important, and as you hear about, oh, they put the blame on the victim, not the perpetrator. So, that's really really unfortunate and really disturbing for me because it's the other way around. The National Domestic Violence Hotline states this, Virginia. Domestic violence stems from a desire to gain and maintain power and control over an intimate partner. And abusive people believe that they have the right to control and restrict their partner's lives. Was this true for you?
100%. It was all about control. 110% of the time. The monitoring, I had bosses at my job say, like, if he comes here one more time, like, we're gonna have to let you go. Calling my job, coming to my job, coming to my school. I mean, just all the time. I mean, like, if there's a movie called Fear, and it's got Reese Witherspoon in it, and that in that movie, you can see in the beginning it was like very intense love. She's very young. Her dad's like, hey, I don't know about this guy. You might want to stay away from him. And then by the end of the movie, he's literally trying to take out her whole family. And just to be there. It's control, right? It's got Mark Wahlberg in it. But that right there, it shows like how they're on a roller coaster at a fair and he's kissing all over her. And then by the end, they kill her father. Like, it happens just like that. And people don't realize that it's maintaining power and control. And as soon as you say stop, I broke up with him many times. Many, many, many times I broke up with him. I said, no, you can't come to my job. You can't come to the ice rink where I was in practice. The more I said no, the more he did it, and the more he intimidated me.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Were there triggers? Like, what prompted an outburst in your partner? Like, what would trigger him to do this?
Anything. The food being undercooked, being 10 minutes late for something, forgetting to call him back, back then there wasn't as much like text messages and stuff, but there was a little bit of text. Anything could trigger him. And that's another thing with survivors and our nervous system. We walk on eggshells for years. So it takes a very long time for our nervous system to start to regulate again. And that's why we protect our peace once we're out. And we don't care if we're, it's not my situation now, but we don't care if we're sleeping on a mattress on the floor or in the car, whatever we need to do to get away from that situation and not have anything disturb our peace again, because anything can trigger them. You come out and you have a lovely outfit on and you're like, oh, do you like my dress? You're not wearing that. And they're cursing at you and calling you names. Or, one time I had a partner who, a security guard looked at me. I had an evening gown and a security guard looked at me, and I guess with googly eyes or whatever, and he grabbed my arm and drug me across the casino, and he would not let me eat that night. And he was driving all kinds of crazy and dangerous on our way home, because he said that I wanted the security guard to look at me like that and called me all kinds of names. So anything, like, I did nothing. I came out of the ladies' room and took his arm, and a security guard looked at me that I didn't even know who the security guard was. So yeah, anything can trigger them.
Yeah, wow. And that's so normal, Men look at beautiful women. It's like, whether we're taken or not.
I didn't even notice him. I didn't even know what he looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true too, right? As you think of your partner then, like, did they have any family of origin issues that might have led to these horrific outbursts towards you?
Absolutely 100%. It actually stems from childhood. And I'm gonna use the N word here, narcissism.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like that word. They don't like, well, everybody's a narcissist these days. No, people with NPD are narcissists, and everybody has a little bit of narcissism. Many psychologists and doctors will say,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's got a little bit. A little bit of narcissism is maybe you like to take selfies, or you know, you like things a certain way, you know, your home, or different things. Maybe you're a little bit of vain how you post on social media or something like that. Narcissism, true narcissism and NPD checks many psychological boxes. It's a long list. We're talking about 12, 13 different characteristics: control, monitoring spirit, crossing boundaries, violence. And absolutely, it does stem from childhood. Usually the basis of how a lot of people that become abusive develop is in very young adolescence, when one parent was very abusive and one parent was very coddling. Usually that's where the science, like it does something to the brain and they start to develop NPD. But also there's avoidant attachers out there too, fearful and dismissive. And those people can become extremely abusive too, with hot and cold behaviors, devaluing, you know, shrinking, not being emotionally available for others, being 1 foot in the relationship, 1 foot out. I mean, things like that.
It's quite the list. And
Yeah.
so you really need to be aware of these sort of behaviors before it gets too deep. What you kind of mentioned it already. Like, what attracted you to him in the beginning? You said he was handsome, he was charming, um, you know, turned into manipulative and angry. But did you suspect anything wrong in the early days, like when you first met?
Actually, his neighbor pulled me aside one day and she said, "You want to stay away from him and you want to stay away from that family." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "There's a lot of things that go over there, honey, that you're too young and you should stay away. There's like some mental health issues. There's been a lot of fights and stuff." And I was like, well, he told me that the lady, oh, she's crazy. She just doesn't like my family. So they push it away. There's definitely signs that I saw immediately. There were signs that I saw. But again, my childhood, his childhood, and a lot of times empath people, or people that are very compassionate and very loving, they are attracted to people not on purpose, but that are narcissistic, because in the beginning that shows up as love. It looks like love. Like, I want to know where you are all the time because I want to protect you and keep you safe. They shower you with compliments. You're the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most amazing. And they just literally shower you so much. And if you haven't been validated like that by one of your parents, or in a different time in your life, you're immediately going to cling to that. And so when they do something abusive, you're going to be that much more forgiving, because you don't want to lose when they're good. So you'll take the bad.
Yeah, 7 times you'll take the bag.
Or more, or more.
Yeah, oh boy. We're with Virginia Rose. She's a consultant, event producer, media personality, businesswoman, and an advocate helping victims of domestic violence. And she's with us on the Big Venture Zone today, and such an important topic. I want to just get clarity on this. So let's say there are young women listening to today to this podcast, and how many young women are exposed to some sort of domestic or violence in their relationship with a partner? And it could be a guy or a girl. I mean, there's some aggressive women if you're in a same-sex relationship too. So, but what are the stats? Do you know what that's like?
Yeah, it's approximately 1 in 3, and that's reported. But I'm going to let you know that majority are not reported. I did not report it for years, years and years. I did not report it to law enforcement because of you're scared they won't believe you. They make so many threats to you to do like other things to you or to your family. But it's the numbers are actually really, really high, especially in the United States of America. I cannot give you stats for Canada or other countries that typically usually do have, lower cases. But in the United States, this is absolutely an epidemic. And I personally have lost 2 friends through domestic violence situations that were killed by their husbands, even with restraining orders filed. They were still their lives were taken, and then their husbands took their own lives in the process, whether it be by walking into bullets or into taking their own life after they made sure that they weren't, here anymore. And so I just want to say that whatever you think that they wouldn't do, don't bet on that, because there is a probability that they could and that they will, because a lot of people that are abusive to others, they are emotionally reactive. It's in the moment. In the moment, I'm losing control. In the moment, I can't get this person back. In the moment, I have to regain control, even if it costs me my life and their life. And they don't have the mechanism that says, hey, let's walk away for 15 minutes, or let me just leave her alone, or maybe the dust will settle like a normal person. And so the most dangerous time for victims is right after they leave. Right after they leave, I'd say the first 7 days, 7 to 10 days, especially. And FPOs, protective orders, are violated multiple times statistically by these perpetrators. So having safety plans, leaving your home, contacting your friends and family, making people aware of the situation, embarrassing, but it's extremely important for your own personal safety and that of your children if you have them. And stay away, no contact, 100% no contact. There's no working it out. If they're willing to put their hands on your throat, they are 500% likely to take your life
Mm.
if they've done it one time. So I just want to be very real and very honest that we're not talking about somebody one disagreement or one shove, or one miscommunication. I'm talking about people that are repetitively doing this all the time to
Yeah.
control and intimidate victims.
Yeah. And you raised another really valid point, Virginia, and that's the fact that I feel like the legal system hasn't really caught on. They don't necessarily believe the victim. They sort of, there's still a tendency to not side, but to, yeah, to really sort of diminish the victim's position in all of this. What do you have to say about that?
You're 100% correct. I will tell you that there are very good judges and there are very good trained officers on the force in the United States of America, because I have spoken to them, I've been protected by them, and there are 100%, there are good ones out there. But I will tell you, there is a gap and lack of training in certain counties and in certain areas of the United States that need more training, both law enforcement. I believe that law enforcement and members of the court need to be more trained to spot victims. A lot of times the abusers are cool as a cucumber and the victims look like they're crazy because they've been crazy made, right? They crazy make them to where they abuse them psychologically behind the scenes. They rage bait them. They use reactive abuse. Maybe they abused, and then right when the person got upset and started yelling or screaming back or just snapped, they recorded them. That's a very common
Mm.
tactic that they use. And then they say, they showed the judge, see, I told you he or she was crazy. See, I told you they're mentally ill and unstable. See this video. But what they don't show you, that 10 hours prior to that, they were being tortured. They were being, their face, screamed in their face while they had a baby in their arms. Their phone was broken. They threw their clothes or cut their clothes. They accused them of cheating. They wouldn't let them see their family members or ruin their birthday. They don't show all of that. And so a lot of times, I think, judges or law enforcement in certain situations need to assess the round picture and not just that 15 seconds of video. And like I said, there's many, many good judges and many good attorneys and officers out there that actually will question and say, all right, we need to take a better look at this. We need to call a sergeant. We need to have another pair of eyes on this. We need to listen to the victim. But victims need to keep coming forward and stand together and unify so that we can continue to get the laws changed. In the state of Tennessee, I'm so grateful for the state of Tennessee. They have now passed a domestic violence registry. So if you assault a victim more than once and you are convicted, you now have to register like a sex offender. And we need to have that in all 50 states, because many times we get into relationships with abusers and we don't know that they're abusers because they call their ex crazy. They say, oh, well, she was just a bad person. I'm a really good guy. She just wants to keep my kids away from me. And we have no way to verify and check and see if they've ever put their hands on their previous partner. But now in Tennessee, and if the other states follow, we'll be able to check that when we get into a romantic or intimate partnership.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's a big breakthrough too.
Huge.
Yeah, I love that. Now, how did you feel both after an incident? How are you affected, like emotionally, mentally, and self-esteem wise? Because it sounds like such a, pardon my language, such a shitty thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, my cortisol was so high that it affected my health in such a way that I thought that I had cancer because of the amount of hair that was falling out of my head. I had no energy. I lost time, not in a way of like if you had like a ID or something, but I would lose time as far as I was not present in my day to day. I was very robotic, and I became a person that cooked, cleaned, took my kids to school, did what needed to be done, did my photo shoots, traveled, and people were like, you always look like you had it together. I was on autopilot. I literally became a person that was on autopilot, and I just did what needed to be done. And now that I've had these last few years to really focus on my healing and my healing journey and allow myself to feel all of it and what I experienced and what I endured, and to be able to forgive, I look back at that time and I'm really proud of myself for being able to keep it together, because I was dealing with the unconscionable, unthinkable levels of abuse in all ways, across the board: financial, emotional, psychological, physical, spiritual, all the ways. And I'm going to spare your listeners any more triggers as far as that goes, because this is more to be informative, but just massive amounts of abuse and fear that I lived on a daily basis. And what I want to say to anybody that's listening, that's not a life. That's not a life. I don't care how much money your partner makes. I don't care how much they say they're sorry. That's not a life. And eventually it will take your life, because you will either get an autoimmune disorder, you will commit suicide. There are so many things that will happen if you do not get out of that relationship and you do not seek counseling and you don't heal yourself and get out of it. There is no person on this earth that gets to harm you in any of those ways and make you feel like you deserved it. I don't care what your childhood. I don't care if you've been in jail. I don't care if you have cancer. I don't care if you haven't made money since before the pandemic. You do not deserve any type of abuse, including verbal or emotional abuse or financial. Period.
how did you heal? What went into your healing journey? And how long did it take before you started to feel whole and had your self-esteem back and your self-love? What was that healing journey like for you?
Well, about 2 or 3 years. It took about 2 or 3 years to start to be able to look in the mirror and feel like I had value. I spent a lot of time in the gym, a lot, a lot of time in the gym. And anybody that goes to the gym right now that's listening to this podcast to heal a trauma, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's you, your AirPods, or your headphones, and the music, and it's you versus you, and fighting on the daily basis to get yourself back and to love yourself again. Um, Wonderful friends and a lot of good counseling and therapy. Education. I decided to enroll in many different types of educational certifications, business administration. So I wanted to get healed on all fronts. So anything that I felt like I could not do or have access to when I was in an abusive relationship, I signed up for. I did not turn to drugs. I did not turn to, bad things. I put all my focus into getting my brain better. Tony Robbins calls it the magician.
Yeah.
Working on my brain, working on my heart, which was counseling, therapy, surrounding myself with supportive, loving people in my life. Working on my warrior, which was my physicality, and making sure that my body was strong so that if anybody wanted to hurt me again, that I could stand up for myself and take up for myself. And working on my queen and my sovereign, learning from others, surrounding myself with incredible, wonderful mentors like David Meltzer and Jason Cisneros, and people that have been in my life that have been there to support me and that I could educate and learn. And then building my company. I'm building an international fine wine and art corporation. And I traveled to Italy and I did all my research and learned during the pandemic. So that's what really helped me on my journey, was just completely doing a 180 and evolving and changing my life so much that my abuser wouldn't recognize me if he crossed me on the street. And my podcast, I did my podcast too.
Yeah. And you're probably more, he couldn't penetrate. Like, he knew you, you know what I mean? To attack.
He wouldn't know me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He wouldn't know me because a lot of the reason that I stayed, David, was because he was older than me, and not much, but he was older than me. And you can't help it. You're dumb. You can't help it. You've had 3 kids. Nobody's gonna want you. And those digs, and I believed it. I shrank into that, and I believed it. And I don't believe that anymore. I'm extremely well-rounded and educated and very intelligent. I right now I'm studying neuroscience and different pathways. I'm working on another domestic violence certification so that I can work and coach through Choose You Consulting more survivors and be able to help them. I'm not a counselor, licensed counselor, therapist, and I'm not a lawyer, but I have those resources available to me. And what I help people with is goal setting and rebuilding themselves the way that I did. And then I'm their accountability buddy while they're going through it. I'm a friend. I'm a confidant. I'm a supporter. I'm a cheerleader. I'm a planner. I know how to plan. I hold many certifications and, with different types of coaching styles and different things. So that's now the goal, is to take all that pain and just turn it into complete power. And I think I keep referring to Tony Robbins because we just took that seminar. Where does Tony hold his power? The fact that he took all that pain and he turned it into what? Helping others.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to cry I went through.
Yeah. You're taking your mess and turning it into a bless, ultimately.
Into a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Right. Into a masterpiece.
I want to get back on topic because I have a few more questions to ask. But you did say you were a figure skater, and then you're doing a business in Italy. You could go there now and see if the American team figure skating team needs a ringer, and who knows, you can compete at the Olympics right about now. So,
Oh my gosh. So I went back to figure skating. I trained for 9 months and I went back to figure skating at 40 years old. And it was one of the most empowering things that I've ever done in my life. And that was another part of my healing journey because after years of domestic violence, I had been in 2 car accidents where I
oh,
was a passenger. In both of those accidents, I was very seriously injured with my spine, my spinal cord, and also 2 double neck injuries that prevented me from checking my jumps. And I've birthed 3 children, which put some stress on your body, and then
oh,
old
for sure.
injuries.
Yeah.
And I honestly just didn't think it was possible for me to go back, but there was something in my warrior, my fighter spirit that said, you know what? That when I had that breakthrough and went back to figure skating, I knew that I could do anything I set my mind to. Now, I'm going to be very honest. I'm not quad god. I'm not landing triple combinations, but
Yeah.
I can figure skate enough to bring me joy and to bring me a healing peace and to remind myself that I can do anything that I set my mind to,
Uh,
hands down,
all
and
right.
not to doubt myself.
So the Olympics are right.
Yeah,
um,
I don't know that I could win a gold medal at
yeah,
42, almost 43 years old,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I can cheer on Team United States from being former USFSA and be happy for them.
yeah. Yeah. Um, we've got a few minutes left, and as you know, the podcast and my work moving forward is to really help younger adults, 20 to 35. Um, if there are any women that age or even younger girls, like I do some mentoring with the city of Toronto. They have a youth entrepreneur program in the summer called Summer Company. And this past summer, I was a mentor and teacher, and I got the high school students. My colleague got the university students, so that he got the 19 to 29-year olds. I got the 16 to 19-year olds. But if there are any young girls or women listening, what do you suggest they do to get help? And how long should they wait?
How long should they wait for
Getting
what?
help. Getting help.
Oh, immediately, immediately, immediately. If I'm not, listen, if your parents, in most instances, dislike your partner from a very young age or high school age, you need
Hmm.
to to your parents. Okay. So if you are starting to see red flags and you're embarrassed, I need you to talk to somebody that's in your life, your aunt, your grandma, your mom, your dad. I need you to talk to somebody, a teacher. I need you to ask for help. There's 3 things that they say are the most difficult, statistically, the most difficult for the human body to speak out. I love you, I'm sorry, and I need help. I know that it's not easy to ask for help, but I'm telling you right now, don't wait until you're already married to this person has moved you, this person has isolated you. If they're telling you you're not allowed to hang out with friends, or they're saying things like, oh, if you really loved me, you wouldn't go with your best friend tonight, you'd stay home with me. They are conditioning you. If they say, well, you always choose your mom over me. Oh, you always choose your sister over me. If you loved me, you wouldn't go. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do that. Checking your phone, locking you in places, taking your car keys, constantly draining you of all your finances, um, using intimidation, even if they don't actually physically harm you, but they punch the wall next to you or they yell very close, screaming in your face. Honey, all of that is abuse. All of that is abuse. You can reach out to me. I am virginiarose.com. Choose You Consulting on Instagram. You can reach out to me. I can give you resources if you need any phone numbers or connections, local law enforcement. Don't wait until that one more time when it happens again, especially if you're under the age of 18. Please let your parents know what's going on. If you don't have a safe home life, let one of your teachers know that teachers and educators are mandated. They're mandated to report when there's abuse happening. But tell somebody that you trust. talk to law enforcement, file a protective order, keep receipts, and I believe you. I believe you, and I will believe you.
Um, in terms of how they can rebuild their life from this and their self-worth and self-love, what do they need to do? What's a good sort of
Well,
practice? And I know you sought therapy and you reached out to mentors and peers and you started figure skating again. But if it's somebody a little bit younger, what can they do to, rebuild their life and self-worth and self-love? Because it's probably been totally stripped away at this point.
oh, 100%. You're left with nothing. Usually, by the time you get out of an abusive relationship, it's your tank is 100% completely empty. So, number one, um, if in this moment, right in this moment, you're listening to this podcast and you're in your room and you're crying, I want to talk to the girl that's scared to tell anybody. I want to talk to the girl who thinks that she is not attractive or she's overweight, and there's just no one that's ever going to love her again the way that this person loved her that was abusing her. I'm going to tell you right now, take 1 minute. If only you can take 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, to practice self-love and self-care. Drink water, get sleep, go to the gym if you can, eat something. If you haven't eaten today, eat something, because your body chemistry is off when you are in an abusive relationship and your cortisol levels are very, very high. And also there's a trauma bond that occurs where you are meshed with this person, and what your heart being feeling like it's being ripped out of your chest right now because, but I love him. You are trauma bonded. You are trauma bonded. And so that trauma bond makes you feel that nobody else is going to be able to love you like this person did, and that somehow maybe you deserve the abuse, or that you can't get away, or it's never going to get any better. I'm going to tell you right now that you can create a complete paradigm shift in your mind, in your unsubconscious mind, if you just start to take care of yourself. Right now, have a glass of water, wash your face, take a deep breath, get somewhere quiet, get somewhere safe, put up some positive affirmations on your wall, and start taking the little baby steps into your recovery. And over the next week, 2 weeks, 30 days, 6 months, you will not even recognize yourself as that girl that once cried in her room alone,
I love
thinking
that.
that no man will ever love me.
Yeah, and so hopeful. Um, I'm a big believer too in mirror work. So looking in the mirror and going, I love you. I love you, and keep repeating it.
It works.
And I like meditating and journaling as well. Do you do a little bit of that in your recovery?
Yes, meditation and prayer. I listen to Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor does excellent meditations on Spotify, sometimes no words. And I would just kind of sit with myself. I used to lay on the floor of the dance studio that I went to. I would lay on the floor when no one was in there with all the lights off in a cool, dark place. And I would place my hand on my heart. There's something to that. And I would say the words, I am safe. I am safe. I am safe.
Yeah,
And those words actually communicate with your brain, and they start to bring your cortisol levels down, and you start to kind of really relax, and that can help when your nervous system has been had the gas pedal down for so long that your levels are spiked. And I just want to let you know too, please be patient with yourself. After you've endured days, weeks, months, years of trauma, it's not going to happen in 30 days from the gym. Like, it's not going to happen where you don't have panic attacks in the night anymore. You don't miss the person. You don't have anxiety. Recovery is a road, but please don't give up, because
yeah,
you're worth it. You're
yeah,
so worth it.
yeah. And it is a road, and certain things down the road could trigger it. A little PTSD, and you know,
Smells,
yeah,
bites. Hmm.
yeah. It could be somebody said something. It could be a smell. It could be a food. You used to go to a certain restaurant together.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Um,
But let people know what your triggers are. Let people know, say, hey, and it's not like bringing up exes on like a new date. It's letting someone know. How can someone be compassionate to something that's a trigger to you if you don't let them know. And now if they keep doing it after that, they're just disrespecting you.
Yeah.
But how is someone supposed to know that there's a certain situation that is bothering you if you don't verbalize and vocalize it? So I just want to give you permission to let someone know, like, hey, I don't eat Captain Crunch cereal because my ex would never buy food and he always made me eat this cereal. And every time I eat it, it reminds me of abuse and I get really overwhelmed. Now that wasn't my case, but I'm just giving you like an example to
Plus,
say, how are they going to know not to buy you Captain Crunch cereal? You know what I mean?
exactly. Plus, it's chock full of sugar, which is no good for you.
Right, which is not good for you.
Yeah. So do yourself a favor and pass on that. But you're right. You've got to express your triggers. You got to own them. And I think, if people are sort of kind and compassionate, they'll go, okay, no problem.
Right, they'll respect the boundaries.
If you had one message of hope to someone in a violent relationship, what would that be?
There is so much love and light on the other side. God loves you so, so much. And coming from a person who endures abuse for over 3 decades, and who sits here on this podcast with David, who shouldn't even be alive, I can tell you that there is absolutely hope on the other side. And if you don't have a single person that you can safely speak to, please go on IamVirginiaRose.com and I will give you a free conversation. I will give you that 15 minutes that you need just for somebody to hear you out if that's what you're looking for. And there's also many, many different hotlines if you want to be anonymous and you want to call. I'm telling you, there's hope on the other side and you're so worth loving. You're a beautiful person and you deserve to be in a stress-free, safe, loving environment. And God bless you.
Yeah, and forgive yourself too, It's really
Yes,
important.
and forgive yourself.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault that somebody chooses to abuse you. It's not your fault.
No, it's their crap, Yeah.
That's right. They need to go to therapy and they refuse.
Yeah. Heal thyself. Virginia, you've mentioned your website for help. Where do we reach you to work with you or learn more?
Yeah, same thing. IamVirginiaRose.com. It's a brand new platform that I just built. It covers everything. If you're looking for a speaker at one of your events, you're looking for a collaborator for empowering, women's empowerment networking event. Yeah. You're looking for coaching, also a performance coach. I know, David, you were so gracious that you mentioned that I was a fashion photographer. I did fashion photography for 27 years.
Wow.
Model. I've worked in the music industry with several heavy hitters. I help people with vocal and podcasting. I'm an international best-selling author, so I help people with writing. They're looking to write a book or a platform. So I do performance coaching. I do business consulting. I help domestic violence survivors and help them to kind of like rebuild their lives. And I also speak at events. So just IamVirginiaRose.com or find me on Instagram at Choose You Consulting. And I would love to support you and I would love to help you. Send me a letter, send me an email, send me a message, and I will definitely connect with you. And thank you for having me on the show.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Thank you. I'm just so delighted. And this was, really super informative, and also really important, and I just spoke at a high school back in December, just before Christmas, to the Entrepreneurship Club. And now, I look at the young girls in the room, and I was told by the teacher that the young girls don't speak up. They're shy. Guys are like, yeah, let's go. And so I look now back on that day that I was there as a guest, and, and I'm thinking, oh boy, what if 1 in 3 of those young ladies are, being abused somehow by a boyfriend? So, yeah, amazing. Virginia Rose, thank you really from the bottom of my heart. I hope we stay in touch because I think you're incredible. And I'd love to bring you back. So
I'd love to
thank
come
you.
back. Yeah, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
and also I'm going to see you in March at Tony Robbins' next event. And I just want to say a huge shout out to Tony for the wonderful work that he does. He's a huge inspiration of mine. I have followed Tony for many, many years, and he's so wonderful. I know people that know him personally, and I just he if you're going through abuse and you need some support, go to a Tony Robbins event, get a book from the library, listen to one of his YouTube, go
Yep.
on Netflix and watch Not Your Guru.
Yeah.
Get I don't care what you're going through at this moment that you think, oh well, there's no hope out there. Just listen to one podcast, one YouTube, one something. I will always be a supporter of Tony because Tony is part of my journey. He's
Yeah.
why I part of the courage to do what I do today. So
I
I'm
know
so
other.
glad we met.
Yeah, I am too, and I know other people who say the same thing. I just wanted, before we wrap up here, I just want to clarify. You mentioned that the four archetypes that we all have, which is our sovereign, our queen, our joker, or no, magician, and our lover, and our warrior. My warrior is an offensive lineman, and I was like leading up to the Super Bowl. I was going, "Come on, you can do it! One more down, one more time. Let's get that touchdown." Right. So that's my
That's
inner warrior.
great.
Whereas my magician is anything but that. So he's a little bit flaky with a funny hat and everything. He's going, oh, giggly wiggly, I'll spread fairy dust on your week. So, and different characters. So we all have these archetypes. Play with them, talk to them. I did that this morning actually, and I called my colleague who took the course with me a couple of weeks ago, and I said, okay, what do your four archetypes have to say? So I did that this morning. I called her at 10:30. She was not expecting that call, but it
I
helped.
did before the show today to get in peak state, and I
Yeah,
I did exactly the exercise,
yeah,
and I prayed. I actually prayed. And for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, you can do a little bit of research about the archetypes, and it's being able to communicate with inner self. A lot of times we're crazy made when they say, "Oh, women they got so many different personalities." Well, so do men. We actually all have like my warrior is when I'm standing up for a domestic violence survivor, but my lover is when I'm consoling a survivor.
right.
And my queen is when my business or I'm speaking on stage. And my magician is when I need to problem solve because there's a crisis and there's a very serious situation. I cannot use my warrior spirit to handle a crisis that requires my mind and not my body. And so being able to be in alignment with all of those will also help you to not get into domestic violence relationships. If you are in tune with your mind and your body and your spirit, because that's all we're really talking about here, right?
Yeah,
And your
yeah,
heart, and you're able to self-validate and you're able to love yourself, you're able to problem solve yourself, and you're able to protect yourself, you will not fall into those types of relationships. But I didn't know about that 25, 30 years ago, and
no,
now I do.
yeah. It's incredible work that he does for sure. So
Absolutely.
again, Virginia, thank you so much. That was Virginia Rose at I'm Virginia Rose. Is it .com?
That's I'mVirginiaRose.com. The
Okay,
platform just dropped today.
awesome.
I had to get it ready for this podcast. So I'm so excited. And you'll be able to learn a lot about me on there, what my background is, what the services that I offer, how I help people, and maybe some fun stuff that you weren't aware of, like that I paint and that I do other types of work too. So go check it out.
Excellent. And I'll put it on my YouTube channel. And yeah, so Virginia Rose joined us from her office in the US Midwest. Next week, we're going to have a roundtable discussion on what's trending as far as younger entrepreneurs and what are they doing? What are they finding? How are they managing in these sort of challenging times that we're in? I'm David Cohen. This is the Big Venture Zone. Thank you so much for listening. And also, Virginia, thank you for being just an incredible guest today. Thank you.
You're welcome, David. Thank you.
Cheers.